Hello, thank you for being here. I'm Denise, an intuitive guide, channel, medium, mystic, meditation teacher, energy healer, and more. I'm a mom learning how to live well with complex chronic diseases, a lover of all things spiritual, intuitive, and healing. I'm here to chat about living this life as a spiritual being in a human body and all of the gifts and challenges that this brings, weaving the sacred into everyday life. And I'll bring through some channeled messages, meditations, and practices as I'm guided to as well. Thank you for being here.
Hello, friends. Thank you for being here. I am testing out a new recording system today, so I hope you'll offer me some grace. The last time I tried using this recording system, I recorded an entire 30-minute card reading, only to find out that none of it recorded at all. I'm back, and here's hoping that this goes a little bit smoother today. And for some of you, if this does work, you should have the opportunity to see my face, which is a little bit different than how I've done it before. All right, so it is mid to late November when I'm recording this, and I imagine it'll be pretty late November, maybe even early December when it is first coming out. I want to talk a little bit about why these practices and having a consistent practice of reconnecting with yourself or with myself is so crucial to living a life of balance and a life I love, and why this has been so important to me. And I feel like this is extra important leading up to the holidays, because I know that the holidays are not easy for a lot of people, even for those who have like really strong family or friendship dynamics, and that the holidays is a lot of fun and brings everybody together. It can still be quite overwhelming, all of the expectations, the extra if you celebrate Christmas and you have to do extra shopping, all of the extra get-togethers. From an energy expenditure point of view alone, it's significant. It's very significant. For those of you who are listening who live with energy limiting conditions like I do, I know the cost that has. And for those of you listening who are able-bodied and healthy and well and have, ideal family or friendship kind of structure that invites you to celebrate the holidays in the way that feels really perfect for you, it can still be a lot of extra expectations, a lot of extra errands, just a lot of extra added to our plates. I know that as I was looking at my calendar this morning, looking ahead to the holidays, I started to feel very overwhelmed. I have, this is just an example from one person living with medical conditions, and it's going to look different for everyone. Between now, I'm recording on November 20th. Okay. So between now and Christmas, which is about 4 to 5 weeks away, I have 16 medical appointments. That's only the scheduled ones. That's not the ones that might pop up in between unexpectedly. I have several appointments for my toddler. I have kids' birthday parties to navigate. I have to plan my daughter's birthday because we go from Christmas to New Year's to my daughter's birthday all in kind of a quick go. We're making some changes with our daycare between Christmas and New Year's. I have to navigate that, write some social stories for my daughter, get, all of those pieces prepared for those kinds of transitioning and the tours. And then I also have, of course, our winter solstice gathering that my co-facilitator Becky and I run every year. And I have the last 3 groups of my current 5-week cohort of the meditation and energy healing series that I run for the internal medicine clinic in Vancouver. Then I have just the regular day-to-day stuff that kind of unexpectedly pops up. We're dealing with a flood at our house in the last few days, obviously unexpectedly. We're heading into the wettest season of the year here in Vancouver, Lower Mainland, BC. And so that we don't know what's going to happen with that. And if our repairs, are like temporary kind of bridging the gap repairs are going to hold through that. And then we also just have like life, right? Life brings unexpected surprises, unexpected commitments. So, for even those of you who are like not navigating a flood, not navigating so many medical appointments or anything like that, I think that most, if not all of you, can relate to having a schedule that feels overflowing, right? Too full. And the sense of overwhelm when like you're just trying to do too much. There's too much on your plate. There's not enough hours, or I like to use the term not enough usable hours in the day, because yes, we might all have the same 24 hours in a day, but not all of us have the same number of usable hours in a day. Somebody who's like very healthy and well and able-bodied and doesn't have extra like kid commitments or people to take care of, things like that, maybe they have a lot of usable hours in their day, right? Maybe they sleep like 8 hours a night and the rest of those hours feel like usable hours. For somebody who is living with complex chronic illness or an energy limiting condition, they might only have like genuinely one usable hour in the day, and that usable hour might not be a usable hour for out of the house. That might be like a one usable hour in their day for in their home for like basic caring of themselves, getting a meal in, having a shower, things like that. So the number of usable hours in a day that each person has varies, and that's just the reality of a lot of people's lives. So I think that no matter where we sit on that spectrum, most of us can relate to just that feeling of overwhelm, that feeling of too many things on the calendar, then their energy envelope is able to accommodate, or maybe even it's not, maybe maybe their energy envelope can accommodate it, but it just doesn't bring them joy, right? It doesn't leave enough room for joy or for connection or for presence or for slowing down, right? As we lead into the holidays, it is just a big reminder for me of how important it is that I have access to these tools in my day-to-day life, as well as a regular, consistent routine of tuning into myself. This work is like well programmed into my life and into my way of being, right? And it is still easy to slip off course when things get to be too busy, when things feel like too much, right? Because you're waking up, you're getting right into whatever needs to be done for the day. And then when do you remind yourself to take that pause? I know that I've spoken on here in the past about having some consistent practices that align with something that I'm doing in the day. So in the afternoon, I like to have my my cup of cacao, and it's become a bit of a ritual for me where I sit and I feel the warmth of the mug in my hands, and I might have like a hand on my chest or on my heart space, or maybe palms open, or maybe both hands are just taking in that warmth. And I just take that moment to slow down, to check in with my body, to see how am I doing right now, right? Does it feel like internally I'm running on like high speed, right? Am I thinking about everything that I still have to do and everything that I just did and everything that I forgot to do and trying to remember what I'm missing in between? Or am I here? Have I landed? Am I present in my body? As I'm taking this moment with my cacao to slow down, am I tasting it or am I distracted? And as I've invited myself to have this physical pause, internally, do I feel like I have paused? Or am I just living in fast forward? Right? And so as I do that every afternoon, that really invites me to land. But when you have a lot of appointments or a lot of unexpected things happening, sometimes those daily occurrences of your routine in your day-to-day life that invites you to take that pause, sometimes those don't happen, right? Yesterday, we had to take my toddler to the pediatrician, and by 10 o'clock at night, I'm still kind of noticing that I haven't really taken that same time for myself. I did take some intentional rest yesterday. So I did pause, I did slow down, I did rest. But in the evening, I was like noticing that something was missing, like something, like I hadn't done something for myself that day that I normally would. And then I realized we were out during the time frame that I would normally have my cacao. When we came home, my toddler was with us. That comes with a lot of extra support needs and things like that, a lot of distraction. And I never took that really intentional 10 minutes. I did take like a few hours in the evening to just rest, but I didn't take that really clear, intentional 10 or so minutes. As our lives get busy, as our schedules become full, it can be really easy to miss those moments and to miss those opportunities and to make that mistake like I did yesterday of feeling like I did take the time to slow down. I did take the time to rest that I knew my body needed, but I missed that really clear, intentional 10 to 15 minutes, right? And when we miss out on that opportunity to really check in with ourselves in that way, we can miss out on cues that our body or spirit or our minds are trying to tell us. If we go straight into rest, but we open up a book or put on an audiobook or we turn on Netflix, then we still have that outside distraction, right? And sometimes that's needed. Like there's nothing wrong with like vegging for several hours watching Netflix if that's what your body needs. But really inviting yourself to take that conscious moment to be present with yourself can make a really big shift in the information that you're receiving and the clarity and just in creating that space for for yourself, but also like as we tune in and we have these consistent practices, it expands our capacity in a way that I'm not even sure that I'm able to put it into words really, but it creates this space where there was no space. Okay. So maybe just sitting with that for a moment. Let's just take a moment together now to just pause. You may like to rub your hands together, place them in prayer, or like myself, one on your chest and one on your belly. Taking this moment to just invite yourself to land where you are. Feeling your feet on the floor or your seat in the chair. Maybe you're lying down, feeling the security of the bed beneath you. Connecting with your breath, observing without judgment where your body rises and falls. Just allowing yourself to settle here in this moment. Noticing anywhere in your body that maybe your body is trying to communicate something to you. Maybe something is sore or tender. Maybe energetically, you just sense the sensations of grief or joy, dis-ease or ease. Just taking this moment to really listen to your body now. And if your mind is running away on you and you feel like you're still living in fast forward, or you're not really sure what listening to your body means, simply inviting your mind to slow, bringing yourself into the present moment, reminding yourself that whatever thoughts may be arising at this time or coming in and distracting you they can be returned to at a later time. This moment now is just a moment in time, and it is just for you. There's nowhere else you need to be besides right here, offering yourself this gift of presence. When we take this time to become present in our bodies and slow ourselves down, we give our spirit the opportunity to come back home to our bodies. And in doing so, shifts will naturally take place that bring us into greater alignment. This has a ripple effect outwards into every area of our lives. And as we offer this gift to ourselves, it truly is a gift to everyone in our lives as well. As we are able to show up for ourselves in this way and to meet ourselves with greater presence, we are simultaneously able to offer a greater version of ourselves out to those that we love, those that we come in contact with day to day. So just sitting with that for a moment. All of these practices, the energy work, the meditation, the mindfulness, all of these practices of coming home to ourselves, they create space when it feels like there is no space. And our circumstances don't necessarily change. I mean, often they do over time, right? As you're reconnecting with yourself in this way over a long period of time, our circumstances do often change because we have changed, right? And so, therefore, what we call into our lives changes, the boundaries we set change. So there is a pretty significant ripple effect to doing these practices on a regular basis. But if you're just beginning with us now, just knowing that as we tune into ourselves in this way, and as that creates space where there felt like there was none, our circumstances don't necessarily change, but we do. And I want to be really clear that I'm not suggesting that you can have a daily meditation practice and then continue to live your life like out of alignment, but just come back to that meditation practice, right? That's not what I'm saying. you can't just continue to like overschedule yourself or live a lifestyle that doesn't work for you and no longer serves you, and just come home every night to your meditation practice and just trust that everything is going to work out, right? And that you're going to be well. That's not how this works. Like there are tangible action steps that are required for us in our lives to take in order to really follow through and start showing up for ourselves in ways that are besides on the mat, right? On the mat or on the pillow. That is like when you sit in meditation. In our physical lives, our day-to-day lives, we still have to remove toxic relationships. We still have to make sure that we're in environments that serve us, that hold us, that are safe for us, right? And especially if you are one of my listeners who's living with complex chronic illness, you'll already know this in a much more intimate way. So this is just such a brief explanation of the very beginning stages of these practices and making these shifts in our lives. So the goal would be that as you're deepening your practice of meeting yourself deeper, those shifts will naturally begin to happen because you will have the clarity to see what it is that you need, to call on guidance and support, divine intervention to come in and support you in making these changes. You will like naturally begin to shift your life alongside this practice of coming home to yourself, and everything will begin to like align, right, with what truly meets you where you're at, while also aligning with where you're meant to be heading. So it's not an overnight kind of thing, but if you are just getting started and we're heading into the holiday season, I would invite you to try just creating a very basic, sustainable practice of meeting yourself. Even if you just start with every couple of days or a few times a week of a bit of a practice of sitting with yourself and slowing yourself down. And then just observe without judgment, what kind of space is this creating in your life? And how is that supporting your path moving forward? Or how is it supporting, your basic well-being today and in this moment, and then throughout the holiday season? And as you're doing so, what might be showing up in your intuition or your guidance of how you want to navigate the holiday season, right? What works for you this year that maybe you haven't done in the past, or maybe didn't work for you last year? Or what traditions have you upheld simply because you were told that you were meant to uphold them? And do those traditions still align with who you are, who your family is, what your needs are at this time, right? Does this still serve you in the way that it should? Or is there some changes that maybe you're being invited to make? Maybe your guidance is coming through and maybe your intuition is letting you know that some of these old routines, old habits, old traditions maybe no longer serve you this year. And if that's the case, then can you muster the courage to allow yourself to make those changes for yourself or for your family? Life really does have a way of stirring things up sometimes. And even when we are in a consistent practice, life's, you know what I mean? Life happens to every single one of us. And so having that consistent space to land within yourself, and when I speak of having this consistent practice, what I'm really referring to is almost like the somatic experience of that practice, because that part takes time and practice. And as you develop that and really develop that relationship with yourself, it becomes much easier to tune into, which means that as life is lifing and things are maybe moving a little bit too fast for you, your access to that connection with yourself is stronger, it's more ingrained, it's easier to connect with. That matters. Okay, that matters because when we are in chaos or crisis or navigating like tricky family dynamics or holidays that maybe don't feel good to us, having easy access to that connection with ourselves really makes a really big difference, because that's when it's most difficult to slow down our minds and to reconnect with our heart space and to come home to ourselves and to our bodies, when we are just feeling like things are moving too fast for us, or when the mind has taken over because it's trying to control, it's trying to protect us, it's trying to keep us safe. A lot of the ways that the mind tries to keep us safe are frequently like outdated. They're not ways that necessarily keep us safe today. They're often not ways that keep us moving forward in a direction that serves us moving forward. So when we are in those tricky spaces, having that easy access to our connection with ourselves really makes a significant difference in our ability to come home to ourselves in those moments, to make decisions that really align with who we are now and where we want to go, and really supports us in setting the boundaries, taking the steps, making the changes, doing the things that will project us onto the lifestyle and the trajectory that really aligns with who we are now and where we are going. Sometimes the mind has a tendency to keep us stuck, and it's doing that to protect us. It's a safety mechanism. It's how we're wired. If you know anything about neuroplasticity and the wiring of our brains and how those neurons fire, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But we go through the quickest path in our brain, right? And the quickest path are the paths that are really well ingrained. And so taking this time out to tune into ourselves and making this consistent practice, this is about shifting that so that our quickest path is our connection to ourselves. And that's what we really need in those tricky times, in tricky dynamics and times of chaos and overscheduling, and times where we have to be really mindful about carving out space for ourselves. Otherwise, it will not exist. And that's what the holiday season is for a lot of people. Let me just slow myself down here and just see what else is asking to come through today. There's a part of me that is so present in this conversation, and there's another part of me that is so unsure about using this new recording setup and how it's working, and the things on the screen, and not being sure if things are recording the way that they are, because it's not the visual that I am used to. So with that, I just want to invite myself to tune in for the highest and best of everyone involved. What else is asking to come through at this time? I have been in kind of a tender place myself recently, and that was initially what I thought that I was going to share today, until I realized the timeline and my own calendar, and that this might be my last episode before Christmas, depending on my own energy envelope and what I'm able to navigate in the next, between now and the end of the year. I would like to invite you to check out my other channels. I do have a weekly collective messages on my YouTube channel. It's a weekly card reading / channeling collective messages. And there's a chance I will shift that over to this platform as well. I'm recording today for Spotify, but with this new recording setup, I might end up integrating a few different pieces of my offerings to see how I can better align that with my own energy envelope and with the platforms that people want to be listening on. So stay tuned for that if I end up moving my card readings and collective messages channeling over to Spotify, or if maybe now that I have this recording set up, maybe it ends up on both Spotify and YouTube. But anyways, if you're listening on Spotify and you don't hear from me very much through the month of December, then definitely I invite you to tune in on YouTube or Instagram and see what I might be still creating there. I don't want to overschedule and overcommit myself to the point of losing touch with what really serves me throughout this holiday season as well, in my efforts to offer out these offerings to other people, which as I do offer these out to other people and to the collective, it really does light me up. I am following my joy. And I still need to find a balance of somebody who lives with an energy limiting condition, a parent of children with support needs, and just of balancing how much can I create and co-create. Really, this is a co-creation with spirit. I'm not doing this on my own, and I am blessed to know that. But connecting with, that balance for myself of how much can I create for the collective while maintaining the presence both with myself and with my family. So if you don't hear from me too much throughout the month of December, do tune in on those other channels and know that I will be back in January, February as my energy envelope allows. And now the story that I was going to share, I didn't really have it clear in my mind, but the intention of my sharing today was going to be about the tenderness that I have been feeling in myself and my own life lately in the last few weeks. It's interesting. It does really align quite a bit with the card reading that I just shared on YouTube for this week, November 19th to 25th, if you go look it up. But basically, it's been a deep rebirthing process for myself in recent months. And when we're in the darkness, when we're in the tunnel and we can't see the light yet, on a human level, we so want to see that light, right? We so want to connect with that light. We want that completion. And when we are sensing completion energy, we're so eager to reach that like end game or that culmination point. But what we often forget when we're in it is that the ending is also the beginning. And as we reach that place of culmination, that completion energy, one cycle is ending, but a new one is beginning. And when we are beginning again, it's like we're the fool. We're the fool again. If you follow tarot, right? We're back at number one. Often in that place, we are unsure of where we're headed. We're unsure where we're going. Things feel vulnerable and raw. We have shed our old skin and we haven't quite hardened into our new skin yet. It's like sensitive to touch. So that's where I am. Transparently, I am beginning again. I am in that. I have been through a massive rebirthing process recently, and I don't know that I'm really ready yet to share the details or the visuals, the visions that I received throughout that process. It was a very deep and long period of darkness, but a long period of like receiving the guidance of, okay, you're in the dark, but the light is just around the corner. And then, okay, you can see the light, but you're still in the tunnel. Okay, you're still in the portal. You're still in the birth canal. You can see the light, but you're not there yet. And then reaching the light, and my process for this rebirthing, we are all continuously rebirthing. Okay, so this is not my first rodeo. This one in particular, though, was quite a dramatic shift from, okay, you see the light and like now you're out, now you're in the light, now you're rebirthed. And that sense of vulnerability when I hit that light and when I was new again, the awareness was so potent of I'm no longer who I was. And I don't yet know who I am now. And that this next chapter of my life is really going to call forth the wise woman within to be at the forefront and to be more fully embodied than she has ever been before. That is a vulnerable place for me to be, you know, to really step into my own power in that way, or to know that this next chapter of my life is going to ask me to fully step into my own power in that way, when I really have spent a lot of my life feeling like I was safer to fly under the radar, like I was safer to not truly be seen, right? There's a lot of like witch wound of burning at the stake. There's a lot of the feminine wounds that have definitely lived inside of me and in my way of being that have prevented me from fully stepping into my power and embracing my wholeness in that way and embodiment in that way, because it felt safer to be liked. It felt safer to be convenient. And now I don't really think of myself as an overly convenient person. I think a lot of my physical and health challenges actually make me quite an inconvenient person. I also recognize that like a lot of my belief systems and the way that I go against the narrative in a lot of ways is very inconvenient to a lot of people. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see where this next chapter takes me in all of that, because while I don't feel that I have necessarily been a very convenient individual for society or for my family or for the people around me, the doctors, things like that, because of my circumstances, I have had this really deeply ingrained belief that I need to be convenient in order to be loved, that I need to be convenient in order to be safe, that I need to fly under the radar in order to be accepted. And, you know, I think sometimes when we don't accept all parts of ourselves, those are the parts that really come up and are shown in our lives. And so here I am, but now I've been through this like really, really potent rebirthing process, and it is clearer than ever that that wise woman wants to come forth and wants to be more fully embodied, and that this next chapter of my life is going to ask me to step more fully into my own empowerment. And that's a really vulnerable place to be, you know, that does go against a lot of the limiting beliefs that still live within me, or that have for a long time lived within me, and likely within the whole lineage of my family, right? My whole ancestral line. So in that, I am really holding myself differently with a different level of tenderness and care, because we are all cyclic beings, right? That is our natural way of being. We all go through these cycles where sort of we're like fresh and new, and then we go around and we become like wise, and then we're rebirthed, and then we're fresh and new again. We're showing up in our lives in a new and different way of being. When we are not present to that, these sensations, because this cyclic nature, it's happening whether we're present to it or not. And in my experience, when we are not fully present to that, it has a way of triggering like really dark nights of the soul, really big crises in our own lives. This is not my first time being quite present to this cyclic process, but it's my first time coming out and sharing it in this way as it's happening. So we'll just see how that evolves. I'm really just sitting with that space of the ending is the beginning, and all that I have learned is not lost. It lives within me still, and yet I am beginning again, and I am new again. And I feel like a brand new baby, where the world is new and it is a lot. And like I just need to be held in this space. We will not always have somebody else to hold us tenderly in this space. And so again, that's why these practices are so important, so that when we enter this space, when we are in each area of our cyclic way of being, no matter how that is showing up, we are able to hold ourselves in the ways that we are needing to be held, that we can show up for ourselves in that way and access through our own intuitive discernment what our needs are at this time, and how to provide them to us, so that we can offer that back to ourselves and make the choices and changes and shifts that we need for ourselves at this time from this new way of being. And from there, we can build the foundations that are going to support us and hold us through this entire next cycle before we inevitably begin again. And as we go through each of these cycles, we often come back to old patterns, old wounds, old situations, and we have the opportunity to see it through a new lens, right? We have the opportunity to navigate those from a more evolved space, from a more evolved embodiment and way of being. And that means that we get to gain different lessons from those scenarios. And we also get to naturally show up in a different way than we have before, than we did the last time around, right? Our lives are just like one big spiral, just continually returning to the same place from a different view, from a different version of ourselves. And here I am beginning again. So I am holding myself in this tenderness today and in the last couple of weeks. And I invite you to take notice of where you may be in your own cyclic nature and what might be asking to come forth in your own body, in your own life. Okay. So I look forward to seeing how that conversation continues as my podcast and my offerings here continue to evolve and grow. And for now, I'd like to just leave you with a practice to do at home. So let me just take a moment to tune in here, see what's asking to come through. So I'll invite you to just settle into wherever you are. You may wish to close your eyes or soften your gaze, whatever feels safe to you in this moment, whatever is safe for the environment that you're in at this time. Just inviting yourself to land more fully in your body now again. Feeling the weight of your body against the surface below you. And as you do so, you may notice that various parts of your body are asking to be shifted, to move, or to stretch. Just allow them to do so. Allow them to be adjusted in whatever way feels right for them at this time. And inviting yourself to more deeply relax and fully land here now. Connecting with your breath, noticing if it softens or slows with your presence. Allowing your body to be exactly as it is at this time. Mm. If thoughts of the day are distracting you, or you feel like your mind is living in fast forward or rewind, simply reminding yourself that any thoughts of the day can be returned to at a later time. This time now is a gift to yourself. And in gifting this to yourself, it radiates out into everyone around you as well. Really taking this moment to land. Notice anything that is asking to be seen or felt at this time. If you are deeply connected with yourself and your higher self, you may be picking up on some intuitive guidance now that is asking to come through. And if you're not and you're new to this, then you might just notice what themes have been showing up in your life or in your body recently. Allowing this information to come through in the way that most serves your highest and best at this time. As you notice this, take note of what else is showing up in your body and mind simultaneously. Is there judgment? of where you are currently at on your journey? Is there compassion? Is there love? Is there shame or guilt? Is there any sense of gentle loving kindness towards yourself? Without the need to change anything, simply notice this. And now ask yourself, what is it that you really need from you at this time? Perhaps it's softness, gentleness. Perhaps you need to wrap yourself up with tenderness and love and care, the way that you would a newborn baby. Perhaps it's something different. Maybe at this phase of the cycle that you are in, you are needing courage, confidence, or to take action on some kind of step or change in your life. Ask yourself, is this a time for me to slow down, to tune inward and to retreat? Or is this a time for me to take a big leap? Or maybe a very courageous baby step? Allow whatever guidance is asking to come through to you now, without judgment, without trying to analyze it. Simply invite yourself to receive. As you receive this guidance, invite yourself to meet you exactly where you are today. To align with your current needs at this time, and to take consideration of the path that you're on, whether or not it is currently the right one for you, or if some shifts or adjustments are asking to be made. Take this moment now to honor your own cycles, your own cyclic nature, all that it took for you to be where you are today. Honoring the patterns that have been repeating, the situations that are rising up again, and noticing, are you acting from that old familiar place? Or perhaps have you responded differently this time? Have you shown up in a new, more evolved way? And if so, have you taken the time to honor that within? Maybe you would like to do that now. Take a moment now to offer back to yourself whatever it is that your needs are that were showing up through this practice. Knowing that you can come back to this practice at any time and do it again. Knowing that in each different step of our cycles, our needs may shift and change, and that it's helpful to continue to tune back in, to reconnect with ourselves, and to listen. As we listen and as we invite ourselves to show ourselves what those needs are at any given time, it gives ourselves an opportunity to meet that need in a new way. And as we meet our own needs in this way, it opens up opportunities of flow in our lives. And if this phase of your cycle is feeling pretty tricky right now, pretty challenging, maybe even devastating, knowing that the only way out is through, and that as we move through this, we may do so with grace by holding ourselves in tenderness and care, or whatever it is that we may need at that time. And that the day will come when we have the opportunity to begin again. The light will return. May you hold yourself in the tenderness that you deserve. May you meet yourself with compassion and gentle loving kindness. And may you know what your needs are with clarity and ease every step of the way. And may you meet these for yourself with grace. For the highest and best of everyone involved. And so it is. So, friends, thank you for being here. And wherever you are on this journey for yourself, know that my deepest compassion and my heart is with you. And I wish for you that you have the space to connect with these practices in the ways that work for you at whatever time it is. And that you may begin a practice of meeting yourself exactly where you are, without judgment, and holding yourself there with whatever it is that you may need at that time. And as we approach the holiday season, I hope even more so that you all are able to connect with these practices or with the practices that align for you. If they're not this, that's okay. Connecting with what aligns for you at the time and what is going to offer you the support that you need to move through whatever it is that you may be moving through throughout the rest of this year in this holiday season. And with that, I ask that you let me know how you liked this recording setup. Do you prefer this to be audio only? Do you like being able to see my face and then therefore being able to see some of the visual cues of what I may be doing or channeling at the time? Obviously, every episode is different and some have more channeling than others. And I invite you to meet me on my other platforms throughout the coming 6 to 8 weeks or so, depending on when this is released, until I am here on Spotify again. And I also would love to hear from you. Do these practices resonate? Where are you at in your own cycle? And have you been there before? Like, I know that you will have been there before in some way, but are you recognizing the patterns or the overlaps of where you've been before and where you are now? And are you honoring that process, or how are you honoring that process within yourself for how you may be different this time, how you may be responding to things differently than you may have in the past? I know that where I am sitting right now in this rebirthing process and beginning again, the vulnerability and the rawness that I am feeling would have likely sent me into much of like a health or mental health crisis in the past, because it is so raw, it is so vulnerable and new, and I've stepped fully into the unknown, and I know that some of what is asking to really come forth within me is pieces that I have quieted in the past or repressed in the past. And so being able to be so present with this process with myself and access much more of the tools and support that I need within has allowed me to move through this process much more gracefully than I would have in the past. But I do think that in the past it would have set me off into long periods of crying or some kind of something that felt like a crisis. And so I am honoring that in myself, that I'm moving through this in a much different way than I may have, a much more conscious way than I may have in the past, and a much gentler way than I may have in the past. And so that's what's happening for me. And it really aligns with the winter coming and that hibernation period that we have in our seasons and the cyclic nature of our seasons. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Where are you at in this cyclic nature for yourself? And are you meeting yourself with grace? Or how are you moving through this? Are you recognizing how far you've come? So with that, I wish you the gentlest of holiday seasons and the remainder of the year. And I hope to show up here again before the end of the year, so don't count me out yet, but I'm just not making any promises. And again, I hope to see you on my other platforms. In the meantime, Instagram is at Denise Alyssa, DeniseElysa. YouTube is the same. So I would love to see you there. Thank you, friends. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the support. And also, if you feel called to leave a review on this channel, that goes a long way in just reminding me that this is landing with people and that this is supporting people on their journey, and this is something that they feel called to listen to and feel held by. So thank you for that as well. Okay. For the highest and best of everyone involved, and so it is. Thank you.
As we close, as always, I invite you to sit with the energy of this transmission and allow it to integrate in whatever way your body is asking for at this time. I hold so much gratitude to each of you for being here on this journey with me, for showing me your support through your likes, shares, comments, and subscribes. It really is an honor to do this work with you and to expand through different platforms. I always invite you to take what resonates for you and leave the rest behind. That's such an important place of discernment when listening to anything that is created for the collective, but also within any of this work, just for yourself as well. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy.